Hey folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for some Legacy with Phyrexia All Will Be One. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. Our deck list comes to us from PVDH, and the support for this video comes from the Innistrad Revenue Service, who wanted to see Legacy with some spice and also with some new cards. So, Atraxa Grand Unifier is the big sort of winner of today. Flying Vigilance, Death Touch Lifelink, 7/7, and when it enters the battlefield, you get to look at the top 10 cards of your library, and for each card type, you get to put one of those into your hand. This is a big deal. This creature is one of the few things that has the ability to, like, threaten Griselbrand's spot at the top of the big fatty pyramid. And Atraxa has some upsides in a deck like this one. You are able to pitch it to Force of Will. You are able to find it with things like Natural Order, or technically Green Sun, although if we're getting up to 7 mana, the game's gotten a little weird. And it can also be pitched to things like Endurance as well. This, I suppose, new archetype is what we are going to call No-Show. Natural Order, NO, Show and Tell. And this is really a neat deck list because we have this combo finish that we are planning on doing with one of these 6 cards the vast majority of the time, but we also have things like Uro that our opponent has to respect as well. So our opponent is going to be in this weird spot where cards like, basic removal cards or graveyard hate cards, for example, aren't really going to be good against the core of the deck, but our opponent has to respect Uro, or that's just a 6/6 card advantage machine that's also going to gain us some life. So we're hoping that some of these early to mid game plays distract our opponents and make it so that they can't dedicate all of their resources to just fighting our combo game. As far as the sideboard here goes here, most of the stuff that's here is pretty straightforward and normal. Since we do have a Green Sun Zenith package, we can do cute things like Xantid Swarms to help us out in the blue matchups. And we do have a Progenitus just in case Atraxa isn't going to get things done for some reason, because our opponent just has access to too much removal or access to Karakas or something like that. I think with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and just hop into some games here. If you like what you see today, please consider subscribing if you're not already. And if you're a regular, throw me a like before this video begins. It's the easiest way to support my content for free. Let's battle. Okay. I think I'm going to keep this hand. I kind of wish one of these brainstorms was a ponder, though. There's definitely some degree of risk here in keeping this hand. I am a show and tell away from, air quotes, doing the thing, but I'm a little light on mana. I have 2 starting mana, but Noble Hierarchs can die to lightning bolts and whatnot. Alright. Red, what is that? Okay, I don't know this card. Up to 1 target creature attacks a player, each combat able. Loot. 0. Exile target creature or equipment card with mana value less than Nahiri's loyalty from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it. Okay. That doesn't seem strong. But Seasoned Dungeoneer is. Yeah, so we are playing against a red-white initiative deck of some kind. Since it's Seasoned Dungeoneer on board, I probably don't have to worry too much about getting basic lands for Icefang Coatl. I just need to worry about getting an Atraxa into play and preferably protecting it. So I think I'm just going to go for Trop here rather than go for basics. Noble Hierarch also does threaten to take the initiative. It is going to be a lot of damage. Let's see if there is a second initiative creature. Technically no. But that is a lot of pressure on my life total. Decent Dungeoneer again. Okay. I think my opponent has this L. I needed that. I have 1 extra mana here. I think I am going to brainstorm for omniscience. Need more than what I have right now. This season Dungeoneer, kind of a problem. Although this Noble Hierarch can block Goblin Rabblemaster. My opponent gets Trap as of their turn. I'm effectively at 7. is a scary number as far as blocking goes. I'm going to look for Omniscience and try to make this situation better for me. Did not find. We'll put back Flusterstorm and a land, so I can guarantee that I get a land drop off of Atraxa, I guess. Then let's cast Show and Tell. And I will be putting in the Atraxa. Okay. So I will pick up a Tropical Island. I guess a new Atraxa. I can do that again if I need to. And a Brainstorm. I have creature, instant, land. Done. I got 3 cards off of Atraxa. The good news here is that this is Vigilant. Bad news here is that I'm fully at the whims of the top of my opponent's library for whether or not I win this game. Okay, just as a heads up, I made a short about this, but Atraxa is currently bugged, so if you're the opponent, you can't see what cards your opponent took here, and you are supposed to be able to do that. I have just told my opponent in chat what the cards were. My opponent is like, Rabblemaster's so bad. Yeah, the fact that this goblin token that my opponent makes off Rabblemaster has to attack is a really big deal here because of Seasoned Dungeoneer. So my opponent can play a new Seasoned Dungeoneer, draw a card off Archives, and then they have to attack with Seasoned Dungeoneer, and they don't have to attack with Seasoned Dungeoneer. They're going to attack with Seasoned Dungeoneer, but then that goblin token has to come in. I believe I'm supposed to leave them with their Goblin Rabblemaster if they attack with it, because then I get 7 extra life each turn cycle from the Goblin Rabblemaster attacking. This is a warrior, right? Yeah, that's a warrior. These are just goblins? These are just goblins. Okay, man, my opponent is sending one of those at Rabblemaster. They were sitting there just kind of thinking about it for a while. Like, you're not going to block it anyway, right? Okay. So I can no longer block the Goblin Rabblemaster, so I will block here. I will gain 7 on this exchange, going to 1. Endurance. These multiple Seasoned Dungeoneers are kind of annoying. I think I'm going to start with a Brain. I don't know. Maybe I'm just supposed to play Uro here. I only have 3 cards in graveyard, though. I would love to brainstorm and find, like, Show and Tell Omniscience and just go ham. I also don't really think I can do things with Noble Hierarch here. I might just hold up all my mana and do, like, end of turn Brainstorm and play, like, Endurance or Ice Fang. Throne of the Dead 3 coming is kind of a big deal, though. Oh, I guess I am going to get to do that. I'm going to take the initiative. Makes Uro a bit better as a play. Do like Uro and Ice Fang Coatl. And this is where this Vigilance is huge. Exalted helps as well. Alright, there's the initiative. Pick up a basic. Play a basic. We'll just kind of focus on raising my life total here. Ooh. Force of Will's not bad. Then I still just have Ice Fang Coatl up afterwards as well. Although this is Ice Fang Coatl or Noble Hierarch, this doesn't actually net me a blocker. Alright, we're going to combat. My opponent is going to get triggers on both of these creatures. Yep. Okay, they're doing them on the Seasoned Dungeoneers. Alright, they get to draw a Plateau. And there's a Goblin Rabblemaster going to the graveyard. So this is 11 unblockable damage here. I'm going to have roughly 13 damage that I don't block. I'm fine in terms of life total. I just have to see if I end up losing to Throne of the Dead 3. I think I am going to throw away an Ice Fang Coatl here. Put an extra card into my graveyard. Draw that card. So the only way I lose is if, like, Atraxa leaves play here. I think I'm going to make it so that a Fury won't kill Atraxa. That would be an embarrassing way to lose this game, because it could enter uncounterably off of Throne of the Dead 3. And that would be a pain for me. I'm doing okay in terms of life total. I'm at 7. I have a lethal threat on board. And now it's just, do I lose to Throne of the Dead 3? Doesn't look like it. My opponent went past multiple outs to my creature, though. Caracas touched the Spirit Realm. So I think I'm good. I think I've got this in the air. I've got a Force of Will or anything except yet another Caracas. But 3 Caracas would be kind of crazy for this mana base. My opponent has said stupid Rabble Master. Rabble Master gained me so much life. Margins on this game were so tight. Yeah, make your land drop. Cast like a Solitude or something. I've got Force of Will. Yep, seems like we're good. I will just go ahead and crash in for lethal. We beat a turn 1 seasoned Dungeoneer when my opponent was on the play because of Atraxa. Hell yeah. So, generally speaking, I don't really have that many cards intended for this matchup. Blusterstorm needs to come out. I'll probably put a Progenitus in just as another natural order target. Green Sun's a little slow here, but Green Sun is still just a way to get a Dryad Arbor and accelerate to 3 mana for Show and Tell. Force of Vigor is not crazy to take out a Touch the Spirit Realm that's played as an Oblivion Ring. Brazen Borrower similarly can bounce that out of play. Endurance doesn't line up super well in combat versus my opponent's threats. I think I'm going to swap Endurance for something that has evasion and the ability to bounce out some key spells. And I'll think about Force of Vigor. This land enters tapped, which I believe means that this is a no-go. Otherwise, we have cool stuff going on with this hand. This second hand is just going to need mana to get to Atraxa, and hopefully that's good enough for a win. I'll keep this one pitching one of the 2 copies of Icefang Coatl. My opponent has mulliganed once, but like this deck is probably going to mulligan pretty well most of the time. Second Atraxa is not what I'm looking for here. I am going to just get a basic here, I think. As I do have an Icefang Coatl in hand. Ooh. Yes. I will take the Force of Will with this hand, though. I will just go no shuffle here. Got a safety net versus early initiative cards now. Gonna go ahead and let that go. There's a Fury that I played around last game. Caracas is definitely annoying. Okay. Let's talk about some game theory here. My opponent lost to their own Goblin Rabblemaster last game, and they have kept this in for the post-sideboard games, despite the fact that, like, it 100% lost them the previous game. This is very surprising to me. I might need to Force of Will it anyway, because my opponent has this onboard Caracas, and then they can just keep bouncing my Atraxa out of play as of right now. So I think I have to Force of Will this, but I don't think this card should be in the deck right now. But I think I just need to keep the pressure off of myself here. So now I am specifically looking for an Omniscience. I'm going to go ahead and Sorcery Speed Brainstorm. I'm not interested in this second Force of Will. Not interested in Tropical Island. I would like to have 3 basics. I'm going to go ahead and just fetch now. Call it a turn. I will still Show and Tell Atraxa next turn if I don't have something else to do. Thalia is a little annoying. It'll mean that I'll have to get to a 4th mana, but it's not that bad in the grand scheme of things. Again, I'm just going to fetch at sorcery speed here in case something gets a little weird with like Aven Mind Sensor effects, that sort of stuff. Not that I'm expecting those, but I am aware that they are a thing that exists that my opponent somewhat reasonably could be playing. So my opponent may have like Oblivion Ring type answers, removal spells in their hand as of right now. Or they may have 4-drops that they can't currently cast. Pyroblast. Sure. I mean, I'm very glad that that's not hitting my show and tell. And I am just going to go ahead and cast this, despite the fact that, like, Atraxa will be bounced out of play. I am treating this as the way to dig to the next show and tell. Like, this is a card advantage play, not a play that I expect to win me the game. Shaman Priest is annoying here. Yeah, I think my opponent's last turn was pretty bad. I will take an Omniscience. I will take a Mystic Sanctuary. I will take an Icefang Coatl. I will take a Ponder. 1, 2, 3, 4. Done. Yeah, I think their turn would have been much better served by not attacking Icefang Coatl, which wasn't doing anything against Thalia anyway, and just holding up the Containment Priest, because flashing in Containment Priest would have stopped me telling that creature, as would have Pyroblast. Okay. So now, I will go ahead and Mystic Sanctuary, put a show and tell on top of my deck. Yes. I will play Icefang Coatl. Draw a card. Oh, it's a show and tell. Would you look at that? I can't cast it this turn because of Thalia. I guess that means that I will cast a Ponder. I will look for a Force of Will here, I think. Brazen Borrower is okay. Actually, Force of Will's not that good for me right now, right? Because I can't pitch any of these blue cards reasonably right now. So let's just maybe look for cantrips. Second Omniscience. That's actually not bad. Not crazy good or anything, but it'll do. So there are things that beat me here. My opponent is willing to make that trade. Unsure if that is correct or not. White Plume Adventurer. That starts this whole initiative thing. So I get to do cool show and tell stuff. Oh, that's a big hit, actually. I will cast a show and tell. I need my opponent not to have the Oblivion Ring effect right here. They did not. I will cast a second Omniscience, I think. Well, I guess if they didn't have anything that answers the Oblivion Ring, or sorry, if they didn't have anything that answers the Omniscience immediately. No, let's just do this. I'm tight on mana here. Otherwise, I'd cast the backup Omniscience. Okay. So we will go Creature, Instant, Sorcery, Land. Cool, cool, cool. I'm just gonna cast Icefang Coatl first. I will probably be casting the second Atraxa to just get deeper into my deck here. I just want to find more bodies. I'll keep the first Atraxa. Okay, I will take a creature, land, enchantment, I guess sorcery. 1, 2, 3. Or no, that is 4. Interface is just a little hard to read here. All right, cast Uro without paying its cost. Get an extra land drop. I would have to play Uro for the just 4 mana. That's not the best here. At this point, I think I will go ahead and preordain. Nice. We will put both of those on the top, draw a card, cast an Emrakul. That will get me an extra turn. Cast this without paying its cost. Paying the 1. Put a Dryad Arbor into play. Call it a turn. My opponent is welcome to bounce either one of my legendary creatures. Yeah. This card fucks. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is obviously a deck building website, but it does a lot more than just that. So for example, it can help you keep track of your collection if you plug in what cards you own, or if you're looking to, say, see what the newest precons look like to decide whether or not you want to buy them or quickly look up the cards, that's available in one of these tabs as well. So consider checking them out. Okay, as my round 2 hand has 6 mana sources here, I'm going to go ahead and ship this one and try to just look for something a little more consistent. This fits the bill. I think I'm least interested in the Mystic Sanctuary here, as this isn't going to enter untapped for the purposes of show and tell. The fetch land that I play out first here matters. I will be selecting Polluted Delta for Island, as I want to have the flexibility to potentially get a forest with this later. These cards are a little underwhelming. I'm really looking for Atraxa right now, or more cantrips, so I'm going to go ahead and shuffle this and assume that at some point along the way I will find my next land. I very specifically have a feel for what card I do need to get. Polluted Delta often historically has meant Doomsday. Not this time around. They're probably playing against Delver, in which case we're hoping to play a show and tell maybe on turn 4 or 5. We'd like to play it with Flusterstorm backup. Alright, there's a Force of Will. That increases the chances that I will be willing to just play a show and tell next turn. Ooh. The issue here is that these aren't lands. And these also aren't Atraxa. And I grudgingly shuffle that despite the fact that I like some of those cards. I'm not sure what I'm going to end up doing with this Misty. I 100% don't want to get wastelanded. So that's a thing. I'm hoping that I don't want to cast this Flusterstorm, because then I lose the flexibility of this being basic forest, which definitely matters. Woohoo. That's Mercurial Spelldancer. That card is probably enough of a pain in the butt here that I do Force of Will that. I didn't really want to use Force of Wills, but I don't think that I can just let my opponent just uncontested get a whole bunch of extra ponders and EIs and stuff if it looks like this game is going to drag on anyway. Alright, that sucks. I'm going to play it to force my opponent to wasteland it. But I am kind of just chilling right now. I also don't really know that I'm in a situation to cast this Flusterstorm. Oh. Nice, opponent didn't wasteland me. That's very good for me. That means that I can just play an Uro here. I am not interested in playing Show and Tell into every counterspell known to mankind. This is just a cantrip and a little bit of life. Daze is fine. Again, anything that is not hitting my primary win conditions is kind of a big deal. Is up to a 3/3 flyer at this point, so the clock is real. That attacks each combat, yep. But it's not like this is a Murktide Regent. Sure, that's all fine. I'm sure my opponent had their reasons, but I am surprised to not have been wastelanded, especially when my opponent did have the daze. Like, wastelanding just makes the daze better. Okay. I have good tools. All I need is mana before I die. Unfortunately, in theory, I suppose I could die next turn. I go to 11 here, an 8/8 Murktide Regent would kill me, or a smaller Murktide Regent plus Lightning Bolt would kill me. Yep. So this did shrink Dragon Rage Channeler, so I probably do have 2 turns. And this may take, like, Lightning Bolt pressure off of me directly. Woohoo. That is an aggressive Force of Will. I should have flustered that. That was physically a misclick. Just FYI. The plan was fluster that, so that I have some chance of jamming Show and Tell, Omniscience, Atraxa. Yeah. Oh, not technically dead. Take 10, go to 1. Have to get lucky, draw a land. Got lucky, drew a land. So let's see if I am dead for not accidentally flustering. So if I had flustered previously, I wouldn't have this in my hand. Yep, I was dead either way. I still made a misplay. Womp, womp. And I am now dead on board. Now, I want to clarify something here. Even if my show and tell resolved and I put in Omniscience and I got Atraxa, I'm not guaranteed to actually win the game here because my opponent has so much power and something that's larger than Atraxa in play. So in this matchup, I in theory like things that fight against counterspells. I think as long as I don't get stuck on mana, I have a reasonable chance at winning this game. I don't think I'm interested in Omniscience here, because most of the time, getting an Atraxa or an Emrakul into play should just beat my opponent. So we're going to try to increase our odds of actually doing that. I'm boarding out the Omnisciences. I don't mind Progenitus either, I don't think. I'm not the biggest fan of Natural Order historically versus counterspells and Natural Order type effects like the crop rotations and stuff like that. It is just very bad value. You Natural Order, sacrifice a relevant body, and then your opponent goes and just counters it. Is like you get 2 for 1. That said, if I'm bringing in Xantid Swarms and Veil of Summers to try to protect it, it may be okay to just leave these in still. But I do need exactly 2 cuts, and this is pretty easy. This also is something that doesn't get pyroblasted. I think I'm actually going to go Elvish Spirit Guides out since I'm bringing in Carpet of Flowers. Don't think I'm interested in this or this. And I'm not really a controlling enough deck where I think I'm interested in Brazen Borrower either. I want this to have more mana, if I'm being fully honest. There's a lot of worlds where I cast this, Brainstorm, miss a land, and then I get Wastelanded, and the game is just immediately over. I think I'd rather ship than keep that hand. Classic. Make a disciplined mulligan decision, immediately get punished. Fuck. On this few cards, like, this is what it is. I don't know which one of these I want to throw back. I think it's probably the Force of Will. I don't think I am in the situation where I am reasonably going to have extra cards to pitch to this. I unfortunately think this game is over before it's started. I think after a double mulligan here and having to start on a non-basic land that my opponent is just going to be too good at disrupting me. Like, would love to be proven wrong, but like lightning bolts and wastelands are just so good against me here. Oh, that's nice. So you're telling me there's a chance. I am not going to attack here, as I would like to play Xantid Swarm around a Daze and invalidate future counter spells. A little awkward that this isn't a noble hierarch. This is a noble hierarch. I get to fluster here. Why is this ignoble hierarch rather than noble? It just shouldn't be. I think it just shouldn't be. I might be missing something. But the blue seems real important here. Okay. Oh. Alright, so they're waiting until after no blocks. Do their fetch to grow it to a 3/3. That's fine. So now we're just looking to draw a relevant card that I can show and tell in. I guess attacks are fine. My opponent can take 1 here. And now it's just like find Atraxa, find Emrakul, find Progenitus. And Natural Order. I can make 4 mana and cast Natural Order with Force of Will backup. I think I just wait another turn though. I would just rather play that with Flusterstorm and Force of Will available. Continue to just crash in for minuscule amounts of damage. They can be relevant, like this may get my opponent do enough enough damage so that like an Atraxa becomes a 2-turn clock rather than a 3-turn clock. Like it definitely matters. Okay. Now I think we're going. Yes. Add some green. Play a land. Importantly, I need to tap this one for green here. Cast a natural order. Sacrifice my ignoble hierarch. Alright, there's a force of will. I don't think I let my opponent surveil here. Force of will that immediately. I guess this is the point where I fluster. Let's fluster a Pyroblast. Go same targets on 2 of those. One of those on their initial force of will. Put another one of those on their initial force of will. Alright, so at this point, the stack is going to clear. Alright, my opponent bends in Unholy Heat. That's frustrating. Alright, I had what I felt like was sufficient interaction there. I guess I could have waited longer, but like I'm starting to get into the range that I can just die to lightning bolts immediately, so I felt justified in going for it there. I also don't necessarily want to give my opponent more time to set up. I think I am 100% deterministically dead. Yeah. GG's. Alright, I will be keeping this hand. I think I'm going to cast my Preordain on turn 1 so that I can use Ponder with Fetchland on turn 2 more effectively. I don't think I am interested in either one of those cards. It's definitely no to this. And then this one is like medium. I can Ponder next turn and then Green Sun for a Dryad Arbor and work towards a natural order being the plan. I think that's just worse than finding lands and taking this game a little bit more slowly, since this just exposes me to removal so poorly. I think I'm just going to bottom that and look for land. Like, I already have a green creature for natural order. Tundra, so we're potentially on the control side of the spectrum here. We could be playing against Cephalid Breakfast, though. Thinking about whether or not I want to Ice Fang Coatl or just Ponder. I think I just want to Ponder and hold up Fluster, but with natural order, that kind of changes things. I guess I'll just play the land, pass the turn, play Ice Fang, and then use Ponder next turn. Okay, maybe Bant control then. Okay. That was a little unexpected. That doesn't get in the way of my win conditions. So this is not the end of the world, but like Flusterstorm doesn't hit a Chalice because it's target instant or sorcery. Okay. This is actually all fine as of right now. Flusterstorm still technically is a valid counterspell through Chalice of the Void, by the way. Awkward needing green for natural order, but also wanting basics for Icefang Coatl. I think my play here is cast this so that it has a mana value of 2. There's one Noble and one Ignoble Hierarch. I guess Ignoble Hierarch technically can help you cast an Atraxa. I guess that's probably why it's in here. Alright. Bash with Icefang for 2. Alright. I would say overall, things are going well despite a Chalice of the Void being in play. So the other thing here is that I don't have to turbo to win this game if I don't want to. Like, I am relatively comfortably in the position where I can just keep attacking my opponent. They are currently missing land drops. So I don't have to try for natural order yet. And accordingly, I don't think I actually will. I'm just going to go ahead and play this out here, draw another card. If I have a castable card this turn, I don't, but that's another thing that I can more freely sacrifice with natural order. So I think I'm good with how this is happening. Oh, my opponent just has to discard. Oh, okay. The show and tell is a little scary. Good to know. I guess I'll go ahead and do my attacks first. Should have, I guess, played out lands, so this could turn into a Death Toucher, but like with my opponent on 2 mana, I don't think there's anything super relevant there. I will be going for it this turn. Thinking about whether or not I want to sacrifice this Dryad Arbor. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I just play this to better play around soft permission spells. Alright. I know what I want these to be. I want these to be my basics. Well, one of them might end up being Mystic Sanctuary, actually. That's an island. Do a natural order here. Sacrificing one of these Icefang Coatls. There's Force of Will pitching Atraxa. Okay. If I Flusterstorm that, I copy it twice. My initial copy is countered by Chalice. My opponent just pays for it. I shouldn't actually use Flusterstorm this turn. Or alternatively, I should have cast my Ponder first to make it so that this doesn't happen. So at the end of my opponent's turn, I will just fetch up Natural Order with Mystic Sanctuary and try again. Or I can use my Fluster to counter their potential Show and Tell. Sure. I will Fluster your Show and Tell. Fun rules interactions. Then the original copy gets countered. End of turn. Mystic Sanctuary. Grab Natural Order. Yes. Now I will play Dryad Arbor. Cast Natural Order, sacking said Dryad Arbor. Damn it. I did cause them to pitch a Show and Tell there, though. That's kind of a big deal. So I'll just keep crashing in for 2. Now, the weird thing here is that if my opponent does cast a Show and Tell, I still do just get an Atraxa, and I will have the Atraxa that has Exalted. Yeah, that's their 3rd Show and Tell, by the way. They pitched 1 to Force of Will. Alright. There's my Allurin? Allurin, Show and Tell, Atraxa, potentially Natural Order as well. So this should just lead to a kill. But I have a whole bunch of cards coming if it doesn't lead to a kill for some reason. Niambi, Seeker, when I was about to do, you may turn another creature to its owner's hand. If you do, okay, sure. That bounces a Recruiter. You do it again. Show me your loop. Alright, so this is the loop now. I'm just going to go ahead and F6 here. I'm not going to get to do anything else. So that bounces Niambi. Niambi bounces a Recruiter. That gives my opponent 3 life, which they can then use to like rebuy the Cavern Harpy and repeat that to tutor out more creatures. But now let's just see which creature they are going to kill me with, and then I will be happy enough to concede. That's not one that kills me, but they can bounce my Tarka out of play at their convenience. Yep. Then Cavern Harpy will bounce, bouncing their tutor. And at this point, I'm just going to skip to their actual win condition. Okay, so my opponent spent, I don't know, like 6 minutes clicking on cards and couldn't actually find a way to win the game. So my Atraxa trigger is now resolving. That is going to get me an Omniscience, a Natural Order, a land. I can play an Endurance for free. Probably better than the second Atraxa here. Though it's not if I end up getting Show and Tell. Alright. Sure. This is a strange build. Not saying it's bad, it's just strange. Okay. I'll take Omniscience. I'll take Atraxa. I will take Atraxa's hot cousin, other Atraxa. I'll take a Misty. One with the Multiverse. You may look at the top part of your library at any time. You can play lands and cast spells from there. Once during each one of your turns, you may cast a spell from your hand or top of your library without paying its mana cost. Sure. Multiple Sylvan libraries. Alright. I will get a whole bunch more cards. We'll take a Force of Will, an Atraxa, an Omniscience, a land, take a sorcery, a Ponder, and I will do that again. Take an creature, instant, land, sorcery, enchantment. Oracle can't be countered. I can't stop that with Force of Will, fortunately. This is a wild build. We're going to say no to that. Just counter things that I can counter. All right, there's your screenshot of the day, folks. Take it and move on with your life. You would like to Force of Will me back? Well, what if I would like to Force of Will you back? Not just letting you intuition for whatever other nonsense is remaining in your deck. Fierce Empath does resolve at this point. By the way, if you want to know why Allurin decks are on my no-fly list, it's this. Like, I believe my opponent started their combo turn with north of 20 minutes on clock. At this point, I have no instance in my hand. I'm just going to go ahead and F6. And again, I'm just going to jump till they do something interesting. They have Aether Channeler their Emrakul, and at this point, they have extra turns. Infinite extra turns at that. I will let them go ahead and just attack me twice and kill me. Okay, here's the first attack. We'll attempt to stay alive. And then it will just take an extra turn and attack me again. If this was paper Magic, I would be conceding, but timeouts are real on Magic Online. And given how slowly my opponent's deck combos off, I just need to play towards that. Which is unfortunate. Like, it's not fun to do for anyone involved, but it is the correct play. Alright, cool. The show and tell is a little bit awkward here, as my opponent has a bunch of big dumb enchantments of their own that they can go and put in. That said, I'm not really sure that I can board them out. I just hope to show and tell for Omniscience and do the thing. Show and telling for a creature may not be good enough in a lot of instances. I think I'm interested in Force of Vigor for my opponent's enchantments. The Dented Swarm is actually very interesting as both a way to protect my combo from counterspells and a way to make sure my opponent doesn't combo me off in response to my own show and tell. And I think I'm into Carpet of Flowers. I think Carpet of Flowers is going to replace Elvish Spirit Guide. Endurance technically has text. It feels expendable. From here, I'm a little bit less certain about what I want to do. I can probably cut a couple of Icefang Coatls, but like I do want to keep them around for Natural Order. Let's say Preordain is expendable for the Force of Vigor. Let's say one Icefang Coatl is expendable for one of these. Flusterstorm is not going to hit a bunch of my opponent's important cards, but it will hit their show and tells. I go down 2 of those. Yes. This is a great start to a game. I don't think I'm ever just jamming a turn 2 show and tell here. I don't necessarily think I have to play Xanted Swarm here to attempt to protect things. We'll plan on that next turn. Oh, it's really awkward if I get punished by Chalice, though. I did not. Alright. Go ahead and cast this. I'll cast an end of turn Icefang Coatl. And then I can attempt show and tell if I would like to. It will 100% resolve next turn, but may or may not be a good thing. Like, it's just risky to cast a show and tell without the Omniscience. Wait, 1, 2. Endurance is a thing. Go ahead and do this. I am always going to brainstorm. I could brainstorm in response to this and potentially Force of Will that card. I think I'm going to do that. Okay, I will just be putting back land here. So my opponent finds off their intuition. Yikes. Which of these is less threatening? They do different things. Probably give them the one with the multiverse. Probably give them that. I think at this point I can't cast the show and tell without Omniscience. I know what I'm digging for. I know the top card of my library isn't particularly great. I think I'm going to go ahead and fetch and clear that. Pick up an island. Cast a brainstorm. Oh, nice. I will put back Green Sun and show and tell. And I will go ahead and ponder to kind of shuffle that stuff away, I think. Okay, second Atraxa is very good. Next turn, I will go for it, so to speak. Okay, that's not great. What do I put in? This is better if it gets to my turn. This is better if things are dicey. I'm going to take the Atraxa and attempt to find some degree of additional interaction, like finding a Force of Will, for example, would be great here. Yeah. I will pick up an instant, creature, enchantment, land, sorcery, creature, instant, enchantment, land, sorcery, 5. I wish that interface. Yeah, that's the thing that beats me here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Force of Will is not doing it. Yep. Okay. GG's. That's unfortunate. Cool deck from the opponent. All right. Round 4. I've kept my opening hand. I think I'd like to lead on a basic land here, as to not get wastelanded. I very much know that I am looking for a show and tell. And then let's preordain. I think I need to say no to both of those. Like, Omniscience is great, but with only access to a single cantrip here, I don't think I can greed keep the Omniscience right now. Especially if I end up having to Force of Will because we're playing against an opposing combo deck or like a fast initiative deck or something like that. So much polluted Delta today. More Delver. I mean, probably. Oh, yeah, more Delver. Do I Force of Will that? I don't think I do. Such a huge blowout if my opponent has days. Alright, we found a new Omniscience anyway. Do I actually want to Brainstorm? I like most of the stuff that's in my hand here. I don't know. I can just change the Brainstorm into something else, fetch, and then ponder. That looks at a lot of cards. Do not need a second Atraxa. Green Sun to get ahead on mana. Or otherwise beta days is not crazy. But I kind of like everything else that is in this hand too much to want to do that. Let's just junk the Green Sun. Go ahead and fetch. Find another basic. That matters for Ice Fang Coatl purposes and ponder. These are very reasonable cards that are not show and tell. How do I feel about that? I think I will take very reasonable cards that are not show and tell. Like drop, ponder, Ice Fang, no shuffle, and I can pitch an Ice Fang to Force of Will or pitch an Omniscience to Force of Will. Probably Omniscience, actually. In theory, an Atraxa should be winning this matchup. Say in theory, because Murktide Region is kind of some shit. Sure. 3 card types in graveyard. A sorcery would push this to being a 3/3. It is a Delver. If I find another good land drop, a green fetch land, this becomes a Death Toucher, and these are a lot less scary. What fetch land was my 3rd land down? Don't remember. I probably need to just take this pressure off of me in the short term. I'm playing for the long term here. A little awkward because countering this means that I take 2 more points of damage in the short term. Oh, sorry, there was already a Dragon Rage Channeler in there. JK. Creature is usually like the 4th type. It's usually creature or artifact is the 4th type, but my opponent doesn't have a sorcery this time around. I will go ahead and ponder. Endurance is great. Hopefully not too slow. And I'm not going to pitch cast an Endurance here. I think I bury one of the Ice Fang Coatls and take these other 2. Make my land drop, call it a turn. Wasteland's very good against me if I don't shuffle that, though. I'm gonna just let that happen. I'm not gonna respond to that. I'll just do this end of turn. Then I'm hoping the Endurance resolves to clear out the graveyard before Murktide Regent happens. Yeah. Very much knew that was a thing that could happen. I do just have a couple of Ice Fang Coatls on top of my deck, but the bad news is, like, this was my primary green source. Sure. We'll let the stack clear. I lose Trop. Take 3. I get to just play more Ice Fang Coatls, but they don't Death Touch, and I really wanted this Endurance to clear out the graveyard ASAP. Play a Snake. And I am not going to pitch cast an Endurance in fear of Murktide Regent. Like, Murktide is very bad for me, but I don't I don't think hemorrhaging 2 of my 3 cards to play around Murktide Regent is correct here. Alright, no shuffle off the Ponder. I will eat 3 damage. Hoping for a green fetch land, or alternatively a show and tell would be good. My opponent has untapped and retapped a Volcanic Island like 3 times. Going for a Delver. Well, it's good. Natural order is probably not ideal here. Green fetch land. F. Oh, that actually turns these into Death Touchers now. Hold both back. It's just a huge blowout if my opponent has a Lightning Bolt if I do go for the blocks. An EI. Yep. Put a card on top. That's this. Island is not Lightning Bolt. That's great for me. My opponent should only attack with one of these. They should only attack with the Dragon Rage Channeler. They attack with both, they lose both of their creatures, but this loses me Death Touch on the other one. I'm very happy to have made that initial trade. I think Brainstorm is just better than playing Uro here. Just so important for me to hit land drops. Put back Atraxa and one of the 2 copies of Uro. And I think I'm supposed to just throw an Endurance into a Daze here, unfortunately. Mystic Sanctuary not really doing anything interesting. I think I just need green mana, and I think I want to try to keep my opponent from playing a potential Murktide Regent. I just have another good Daze target in hand, so I would like to try to clear a Daze right now. Oh, I cleared a Force. That's even better for me. Alright, that's fine. That's very good. Counterspells have been used this game. 1 Force, 1 Daze, 2 Forces. I don't think I will be willing to play a Dazeable Natural Order. Nor will I have the ability to, for that matter. Oh, green fetch land, where art thou? I'm at 6. 6 is a horrifying number. Green fetch land. So, I can YOLO this turn. If I YOLO and miss, I'm dead. I think it's just safer to play Uro here. Off snow-covered forest. This will put me back up to 8. Okay. Not the draw that I'm looking for. Natural order here is a little weird. I can take 6, go into range of Lightning Bolt, and then play natural order. Or I can just try to turn this into an Uro game, which I think is what I am going to do. Trade with the Dragon Rage Channeler and hope that Uro gets there. Hope that that gives me time to find like a show and tell for Emrakul or Atraxa, depending on what exactly the situation looks like. It looks like my opponent has finally found a Murktide Regent. I can still just find a fetch land for Dryad Arbor to natural order, I think. Yeah, I haven't used Dryad Arbor yet. Okay, sure. Blusterstorm. Okay, so Uro becomes the line. I don't think this makes a difference, right? Because I just go to 8 and Murktide Regent kills me in the air. Wow, I needed to get 1 card deeper for my show and tell. Yeah, if I had 1 more turn, I have show and tell with Fluster backup. But I don't have 1 more turn. Maybe I was supposed to not play around Lightning Bolt and attempt natural order this turn so that I could beat a Murktide Regent if that happened. Okay, what do I want here? I want Endurance. I want Carpet of Flowers. Xantid Swarm feels good enough. Veil of Summer is probably fine. I think those are the things that I'm going to be looking at. I don't think I need Omniscience in this matchup. 6 cards. I need 2 more cuts. The natural order felt a little awkward here. But again, it's something that doesn't get power blasted, so I'm not exactly sure where I'm supposed to fall on that. I think I'm going to go the Elvish Spirit Guides out since I'm replacing them with Carpet of Flowers. This is a reasonable but somewhat unexciting hand. I am probably going to do a turn 1 Brainstorm. Just to put cards into my graveyard. Because I do have Burrow in hand actively. Like, I have turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 covered. Like, Endurance is probably my turn 4 play. Oh, they are going for a turn 1 on the play Brainstorm. I'll do my own Brainstorm. I am not in the market for an Emrakul right now, and then I'll just redraw some other card. So this is my green source, this is my blue source. I'm fetching around Stifle, by the way. There's my forest. I don't want to Icefang Coatl into Daze here. I'd just rather try to be playing around Daze for a good portion of the rest of the game, or make my opponent expend Lightning Bolts. It's a total relief when your opponent just doesn't lead on turn 1 Dragon Rage Channeler. It is yet another Brainstorm. And goodbye, Hierarch. Okay. Feels like a good Uro turn. Let's grab my other basic. Like, if this eats a Daze, I don't really care. And this will better enable me to play around future nonsense. And I can just Uro next turn if my opponent doesn't randomly, like, Surgical Extraction it or something. EI is fine. Finding a Wasteland. They put a Wasteland into exile and then are not playing it. They only did get one card functionally off of EI. This kind of feels like a Pyroblast to me. I don't think I play Uro here. I think I'm going to go ahead and just fetch a Trop. I can just do this on my opponent's turn. I can do this in their upkeep. I can do this in their upkeep. The extra mana being up doesn't really matter here. Force pitching a Daze. That's fine. Delver's fine. Oh, we are seeing an immediate fetch. Is it a Murktide Regent? No. I'm going to set up the Delver. And no shuffle. I think end of turn Icefang Coatl is totally fine here. My opponent has much more important counterspell targets coming up. I don't mind taking my opponent's lands out of play. Awkward. Go ahead and eat all these lands out of my graveyard. Cast an Uro, which I'm expecting will get Pyroblasted. Very nice. I'll try again next turn. Another EI is quite good. I have 4 cards in graveyard for Uro purposes. This is awkward. But any cantrip or fetch land gets me there. Lightning Bolt to exile, sure. That's fine. We got 12 when everything's said and done here. Still feeling quite healthy. Yeah. Opponent has 3 cards remaining. We've taken their Pyroblast out of hand. And they had another counterspell. That's fine. I just Uro again next turn. Puts me to 9. I'm mostly hoping to dodge Murktide Regent this turn. And I did. Go ahead and cast an Uro. Alright, Uro's in play. Green Sun, actually not a crazy draw here, right? I haven't used Dryad Arbor yet. Not used Dryad Arbor yet. So rather than holding up Flusterstorm, which probably isn't going to counter something a good portion of the time anyway, I'm just going to fish out Dryad Arbor so that it can help me natural order next turn. Alright, it is Murktide Regent time over there, which will enter as an 8/8. It is 100% bad news for me. Opponent has 2 cards remaining. Oh, nice, and I now have backup. This will be 4 mana to natural order, sacrificing the Dryad Arbor, finding an Atraxa, which again is a Death Toucher. Okay, these are good. I will take instant, sorcery, creature, land. Good stuff. I haven't played a land drop yet. Go and tell Emrakul seems fine. I can just do it next turn. This just gives me another blocker, and I've still got Force of Will to back it up, though. Okay. Alright, that was more than enough for them. When I'm on the draw, I could be thinking about this Brazen Borrower, just as another creature to block their flyers. The natural orders are awkward, because my creatures are so frequently dying, and they're bad versus counter spells, but again, they don't get Pyroblasted, and it was the thing that just won me the game here. I don't love this hand. Probably good enough to keep, though. I just want to play a gajillion basics. That's kind of my life goal. My opponent is playing so aggressively with these brainstorms. Natural order is not the sort of thing that I am looking for here. Alright. Just gonna see an early EI here. No, they're just fetching. Potentially indicative of a daze here. I'm gonna go ahead and fetch. Pick up an island. For my curve purposes, I will be brainstorming here. Probably put back the second Force of Will and keep a large amount of land. I want to fetch here, but I want to fetch a basic island, which is quite awkward. I don't have to make that choice immediately. I can wait on that. EI from my opponent, I think I'm fine with that. Although if I'm going to fire off Icefang Coatl, I should fire it off now, but I'll wait. And specifically, I'm going to wait because it informs my opponent's decision about how good Wasteland is. Sure. I think I just let that resolve and plan on beating that with both of these Icefang Coatls. Assuming that I can get to my third basic land like I want to. I hate wasting my mana here, but let's just call this playing around days rather than wasting mana. Am I pondering? If I ponder, I'm back into being dazable. I don't think I ponder. I'm going to play an Icefang Coatl past the turn and be content to trade that with a Pyroblast if my opponent wants to Pyroblast that. Fine. Wasteland I don't want to see. I'm trying to play this game out nice and slow. I want the same general pattern as last game. Here, like, fetching the basics to work towards Icefang Coatl means that I can't Veil. Nor will I probably be able to Veil in the immediate future. Okay. Again, the Dragon Rage Channeler isn't that scary. A Murktide Regent is. I hope to have Force of Will with Veil of Summer backup before that happens. Blue fetch land is not what I want. I want green fetch land. Green fetch land matters so much here. I might have to do a Dazable Icefang Coatl. I don't think I can play my Ponder this turn. I'm going to pass the turn. I think Ponder just has to stay as a Force of Will pitch target. And then I have to fetch a non-basic. Not super happy with that. But I also don't think that that's good enough that I Force of Will it. I will take 3 here. Go into 12. And I need some help from the deck here. The Wastelands. Well, the Wasteland singular was just so good against what I was doing. Brainstorm, Junk Steam Vents. Force of Will, Junking, Brainstorm. Isn't guaranteed to even be a Death Toucher. Okay. Now the plan is try to find a way to go off next turn. Or Uro? Play Tropical Island. Play Uro. Go to 14. Presumably take 12 in the air. This is tight. I kind of have 2 pieces of protection for it. Kind of. I think this falls into the category of good enough. Drop Trop. Cast Uro. Assuming this resolves, I have, well, ooh, it is good enough to get a response from my opponent. Oh, this is just something that we're going to do anyway. Are they going to put an EI back on top of their deck? Sure. And then the plan is Uro with Veil of Summer backup next turn. Daze. How important is this 3 life? Pretty important. I can protect Uro next turn with the known stuff that I have. I think this 3 life matters a lot. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Because this is not just 3 life, this is also like 3 life and a land drop that allows me to more comfortably Veil of Summer on future turns, and potentially also play that cantrip that is currently on top of my library. Or shuffle it if I don't want it. But I think I'm going to try not to crack this fetch land in the short term. Like, I'll crack it when I need to. You do EI. Like, 7 versus 6 is a big deal for very obvious reasons here. Dragon Rage Channeler. Okay. Put EI back again. So is Uro good enough anymore? Uro puts me to 10 life. There is 9 incoming damage. Uro might not be good enough anymore. I might be better off just casting Veil of Summer and Natural Order on my turn. That gets Atraxa. I have to fetch Dryad Arbor here if I want to do that. I think that's just better than Uro. I save Uro for the following turn cycle. Alright. Planted Swarm, you are a touch late here. I will Natural Order. Backing Dryad Arbor. I will let my opponent surveil, and then I will cast this Veil of Summer. They've topped their card. I will cast this Veil of Summer that has been stuck in my hand for infinite turns. Grab an Atraxa. Very nice. I will take Creature, Sorcery, Land? Creature, Sorcery, Land. I'll make my land drop. I am fine playing this Xantid Swarm. Do I pitch cast Endurance here to just clear the graveyard and make it so that top decked Murktide Regent isn't a thing? With Uro in my graveyard, that's probably fine. Let's do that. Clear the graveyard. I have Uro to come. And now I don't lose to Lightning Bolt anymore. I think my opponent needs to surveil most things into the graveyard here. Actually, maybe that's not true, because then these get forced to attack, which is kind of a big deal. Ponder's fine. With Ponder happening, Brazen Borrower can no longer happen this turn. Okay. Well, I guess technically their last card can still be Brazen Borrower now that they also found a land drop. All right, we have gotten the GGs. Ugh, that was a slog. We got there. But, man, the early Wasteland, sticking that Veil of Summer in my hand for so long was pretty brutal. I also wonder if this deck needs, like, either one more snow land or one more green fetch land to just make it easier to turn on the Icefang Coatls, because that was a struggle in this match. All right, final round here. I believe we're 2-2. Opening hand is clunky and not exciting, but I think we just kind of rely on Brainstorm to do Brainstorm stuff and be okay with that. I'm gonna play Windswept Heath and pass, intending on doing a turn 2 Brainstorm to kind of clean things up, hopefully working towards a fast-ish combo. Grindstone Cowboy, true to their name, plays turn 1 Grindstone. Respect. A new Brainstorm is okay. I am going to just fire this off immediately. I do have Pyroblasts to be thinking about from my opponent's side of the field. Elvish Spirit Guide is not appealing here. Omniscience. Omniscience Atraxa is good. I think I'm going to go ahead and put one Icefang Coatl back here. And pass the turn. I may end up doing an end of turn Brainstorm to try to find my not my Grindstone. Ooh, that's scary. Let's maybe respond to that, eh? Let's Brainstorm in response to that. Now I do have an Endurance to save myself once if I need to, and I need to. Didn't find Natural Order either here. Put back a copy of Atraxa. And one other card that I'll just redraw in a minute. And life is officially scary. I would like to hardcast Endurance, I believe. Or at least leave myself with the option to. We'll see. The more patient my opponent is, the scarier this game gets. Now I can't play Endurance here to attempt to kill that. As I die, I will happily, well, air quotes, happily take that damage. And I'll go ahead and fetch. Start picking up basics. And I do need to do things that progress my board here. I expect that my opponent will activate their Grindstone in response here. Which they do. And they're going to realize something that they're not going to like. That I have Emrakul in my deck. Yeah! Not immediately dead to Painter Grindstone, and I have had my Endurance as the safety net for if my opponent had Graveyard Hate. Now we're looking to draw like a natural order or something like that. So these two probably pair together. And Green Sun for Uro to draw another card. That's not terribly exciting with literally 0 cards in graveyard. I think we're just going to pass the turn, play an Endurance. We'll take the attack for 1. Like, points of damage will matter as this game goes on. Now, I may wish death and doom upon myself by saying this, but drawing my Emrakul would be really fucking bad. Goblin Engineer is acceptable. I can cast Endurance and just clear out whatever they get. Yeah. Oh, this is juicy. And Ensnaring Bridge. Oh, that's such a good... This is such a good Endurance. Maybe not the best Endurance of all time or anything, but this is really good. Pyroblast is fine. I will go ahead and Force of Will that. I think pitching Elvish Spirit Guide. Let's clear out that graveyard. Helps a lot in the short term. I really could use a live draw here. Swing and a miss. I guess we're just casting a Green Sun this turn and picking up Uro. Is Uro better than another Icefang Coatl? That turns these into Death Touchers. And those can actually attack my opponent. Yeah, I actually think just getting another thing that can immediately start attacking my opponent is better here. Can't easily get both white and black. Just hard cast an Atraxa, unfortunately. Like, I can get one or the other. Emrakul is not what I am looking for. Yeah, it is Operation Beat My Opponent to Death with Small Creatures. Goal is to make their life very awkward. Also, you remember the point where I said it would be really fucking bad if I drew my Emrakul? Does anyone remember that point? Did I say that earlier? Did I say that, you know, a 1 in approximately 48 chance of drawing a card would be an issue? Did I mention that at all? Did that come up? Imperial Recruiter resolves? I guess. No, Uro and Icefang both draw a card, so like that could have happened. Ugh. My opponent has found a new Goblin Engineer that they will cast so that they can work on the welder nonsense. Oh, they're going for the bridge instead so they don't die immediately. That's fine. They've done this in a way where they got the card into play immediately. I imagine so. Because they had 1, 2, 3, 4 different red. Okay. I will respond to that. Mystic is bad. I'm gonna get Dryad Arbor here. Well, I guess if I draw natural, I already just have 3 green creatures. So I'm actually gonna pick up Forest. That way, if I randomly get Blood Mooned, I still at least have both of my colors. I would like to draw Brainstorm and Brainstorm Emrakul back into my deck. Okay, thanks. My opponent has named Misty. None of my creatures are able to attack right now. Yes. Yeah, opponent's tapped out. Oh, that's good. Show and tell. I pick Omniscience. I will cast free Atraxa. Gotta figure out how to get myself out of this. But the Ensnaring Bridge isn't in play yet. JK, I don't have any problems. Enchantment, land, Reacher, instant, sorcery? Yeah, Ensnaring Bridge is not in play yet. Opponent doesn't have the mana to do that. I'm gonna attack my opponent with a bunch of creatures. They will take 2, go to 4. I will take an extra turn. Oh, we threaded the needle on that one, folks. But yeah, I think my opponent should have won that one, or at least had a much better chance of winning that one, right? So they use their Ancient Tomb mana for Recruiter. So like this casts Recruiter, this casts Goblin Engineer. They still have Metalcraft, and then they just immediately sacrifice it to get Ensnaring Bridge into play. So I think that was my opponent's game to win, especially since I drew the Emrakul. And I think they punted that one. Okay. I like Endurance as an additional safety net for Painter. It's also something that can just ambush my opponent's creatures. I like Force of Vigor. Brazen Borrower's medium. Electric Oof is actually good. Library, Progenitus, Force of Negation are all probably playable. How do I want to approach this? Conceptually, I'm not the biggest fan of the Ice Fang Coatls here. They are pyroblastable. They are not a very good clock. They do cantrip. If my opponent is playing Urza Saga, it does trade with constructs, which can matter, but it's not going to trade with Fury and lines up poorly versus Fury as a removal spell. I think I'm going to get rid of Fluster. I think I'm going to get rid of these. Is this enough green creatures for Natural Order, though? Natural Order is like definitely a huge part of my plan, because that's not innately pyroblastable. Also, actually, is this an Omniscience matchup? This probably doesn't need to be an Omniscience mashup. Like, this is just a red elemental blastable thing. Well, I mean, I guess this is too. Maybe I win without those. That would get me these and a library to help select for my draws. I have 12 seconds left. Let's call that good for sideboarding. I'm very unsure about the Omniscience, though. This is 100% a keep. I have a basic island and a ponder to start things off. I have 2 different good turn 2 plays, and as soon as I feel like it's safe, I can attempt a show and tell for Atraxa. Alright, let's go. Oh, I don't think I talked about Plateau, by the way. Plateau is usually indicative of white sideboard cards, such as Aethersworn Canonist. Oh. Okay. I didn't really want to fetch Tropical Island with this because of how good Blood Moon is, but I think I just accept this. I don't remember how many basics I showed my opponent last game. I think I showed them at least 2 and they saw Icefang Coatls. Rhinestone is fine. Land is great. I think I would like to look for some protection or some way to not lose the game. No to that stuff. An Ignoble Hierarch. Just follow up with a Brainstorm here. Again, I want some sort of like Force of Will, Force of Vigor sort of thing. Didn't find it. Phyrexia can go back. Sylvan Library seems unnecessary here. Second Fatty is also probably unnecessary, though. Get rid of Emrakul. Painter plus Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, or Spirit Guide could, in theory, mess around with me. But my opponent would also need to be able to beat other stuff that I have going on. And I think I'm just on Trops this game. I think I'm just on Trops. Do I want to play this? No, I want to be able to Brainstorm, I think. Which I will probably do end of turn. Alright, so opponent has a reactive hand in some capacity. Go ahead and pave the way for my own turn cycle here. Lands are great. Put both of them back and draw 1. I have 4 mana this turn, which is enough for Show and Tell plus Atraxa. It's so likely to just get Pyroblasted, though. I think I'm just going to continue to look for protection in some capacity. Another Brainstorm is probably an above average draw. I'm going no shuffle there. I will just go ahead and immediately fetch. Up an island. I think I just play Sylvan Library. And then just use that as a further cantrip for next turn. Enlightened Tutor can resolve. Opponent's going for the Painter. And we'll go ahead and fetch. I will Brainstorm in response here. I found Force of Will. I can Force of Will to just protect my own Show and Tell, but stopping the Painter is probably just a-okay here. Let's throw back 2 cards. And let's go ahead and just fight. Okay. The Painter Servant resolves. The Grindstone combo is not killing me immediately, though. Like, I have Emrakul. I also get to just attempt Show and Tell for Atraxa to dig towards something like Force of Vigor. That will help me beat my opponent. I'm just gonna take all this stuff. Mostly because I'm trying to get through it. Let's go land drop. Fast Show and Tell. Put in Atraxa. These weren't necessarily the things that I was looking for, but this is fine. So I will go instant, Reacher, land. Only 3 cards off Atraxa here. Let's go blue, green, draw a card. All right, fantastic. Feel pretty safe here because I have Force of Will pitching Ponder and Endurance pitching Ignoble Hierarch. Grindstone target me occurs. There's my Emrakul. There's a Surgical Extraction. I will respond. Endurance. Pitching Ignoble Hierarch. And then I still have Force of Will up afterwards for the Pyroblast that I'm expecting to happen. Nice. Force of Will. I guess pitching Snow-Covered Island is better. I kind of want that. Force of Will pitching Ponder. Target me. All that stuff back in my deck. Surgical Extraction no longer does its thing. Nice. Very nice. Put back. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 mana. Put back Brainstorm. I think I paid a life for this as I'm about to gain more. I want to attack like this, so I gain extra life off Exalted. Puts my opponent to 9, and I have double endurance up for their shenanigans. Atraxa is sweet. Nice. That's a 3-1 league. Alright, so that brings us to the end of the league. We ended up with a 3-1. This was a tough league. We played against Delver multiple times, and we played against some sweet brews as well, also involving Atraxa on the other side of the table. So ultimately, overall thoughts on the deck list, thumbs up. I think there's still probably a little bit of room for some improvement here. Not 100% happy with the mana base. I added another trap into the deck list from what was originally given to me. I think that other trap is probably better off as another green fetch land or another snow-covered island. I think either one of those is better than the 4th trap. Like, green does definitely matter for Uro, but I think the Ice Fang Coatl Death Touch needs to be on a little bit earlier in the game than it is currently on. Otherwise, I think I like most of the stuff that I have access to here. We didn't necessarily use all of the sideboard cards in this specific league, but I like the stuff that I have access to. I feel very good in my evaluation of this card. This card was very strong. It often found us the ability to either show and tell immediately or protect my show and tell based combo. And the fact that it also can be natural ordered, which gives me more effective copies of show and tell, is pretty huge. In previous blue-green show and tell iterations, a lot of times you would play something like 2 Eureka, which is a lot more risky as opposed to like the natural order that I have here. So this one gets a huge thumbs up from me. Like, I really like this deck design. Let me know what you think in the comments, how you would adjust this one, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day. See ya!